What if the secret to peace and happiness after 60 isn't doing more or saying more, but actually doing and saying less? In the next few minutes, you'll discover why the happiest seniors have mastered the art of focusing on themselves and choosing strategic silence, and how these simple mindset shifts can dramatically reduce your stress and increase your peace starting today. Plus, I'll reveal the one type of conversation that research shows increases stress hormones by 300% in seniors, and why avoiding it could add years to your life. Ramona, a 76-year-old from Arizona, spent years exhausted from family drama, neighborhood gossip, and trying to fix everyone's problems. Her blood pressure was elevated, she couldn't sleep, and she felt anxious constantly. Then her therapist gave her one simple instruction: focus on yourself and practice strategic silence. And within 2 months, her stress levels dropped dramatically, her blood pressure improved, and she felt peaceful for the first time in decades. Peace Principle 1. Stop engaging in arguments that don't concern you. Every argument you engage in releases stress hormones that damage your health, especially after age 60, when your cardiovascular system becomes more vulnerable to stress. When you enter into an argument, whether about politics, religious beliefs, neighborhood disputes, or family conflicts that don't directly involve you, your body immediately triggers a fight-or-flight response. Your adrenal glands release cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream. Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure spikes, your muscles tense, and your digestive system shuts down. This physiological response was designed for physical threats that our ancestors faced, not for verbal disagreements in modern life. For seniors whose bodies recover more slowly from stress responses, each argument creates lasting damage that accumulates over time. The Mayo Clinic has published extensive research on stress and cardiovascular health in seniors, and Harvard Medical School studies on cortisol and aging show alarming connections. When you argue about things that don't directly affect your daily life, politics you can't control, other people's life choices, opinions about current events, you're poisoning your body with stress hormones for no benefit whatsoever. Cortisol, when chronically elevated, damages your blood vessels, raises your blood pressure, disrupts your sleep cycle, weakens your immune system, and accelerates cognitive decline. Studies show that chronic engagement in arguments increases the risk of heart disease by 40% and accelerates memory problems and cognitive decline in people over 65. You're literally shortening your life and reducing your quality of life by engaging in arguments about things you cannot change. Horace, an 82-year-old retired factory worker from Iowa, used to argue passionately about politics at every family dinner and neighborhood gathering. His blood pressure was consistently elevated, and he felt angry and frustrated most evenings. After his doctor warned him about his cardiovascular risk, Horace made a simple decision. He would no longer engage in political arguments. Within 1 month of implementing this change, his home blood pressure readings dropped an average of 15 points, and he felt calmer and happier than he had in years. The solution is simpler than you might think, but it requires conscious commitment. When someone tries to pull you into an argument about politics, religion, social issues, or any topic that doesn't directly affect your day-to-day life, you have a choice. Instead of taking the bait and defending your position, simply say, "I understand your perspective," or "everyone is entitled to their opinion," and then immediately change the subject or politely excuse yourself from the conversation. You don't have to convince anyone of anything. You don't have to be right. You don't have to defend your beliefs to people who aren't genuinely seeking to understand. Your peace is more valuable than winning any argument. Practice this phrase: "I prefer not to discuss that topic." Use it without guilt or explanation. Starting today, choose peace over being right, because your heart depends on it. Peace Principle 2. Keep your personal business private. The more you share about your personal life, the more stress and judgment you invite into your world, and this becomes increasingly important as you age. There's a common misconception that being open and sharing everything about your life creates closer relationships, but research shows the opposite is true, especially for seniors. When you share intimate details about your finances, health problems, family conflicts, or personal struggles with neighbors, acquaintances, or even extended family members, you're giving them information they can misuse. Some people gossip, twisting your words and spreading private information throughout your community. Others use your vulnerabilities to judge you, offer unsolicited advice, or position themselves as superior. Many simply lack the maturity or discretion to handle sensitive information appropriately. The American Psychological Association has conducted research on privacy, boundaries, and mental health in older adults, and the findings are clear and consistent. Seniors who maintain appropriate privacy boundaries report significantly lower stress levels and more satisfying relationships than those who overshare personal information. When you tell your neighbor about your financial situation, you invite questions, comparisons, and judgment. When you share every detail of your medical conditions, you invite a flood of unwanted advice and horror stories. When you discuss family problems with people outside your immediate family, you create gossip that eventually circles back and creates more conflict. Studies show that seniors who overshare report 58% higher stress levels and more strained relationships than those who maintain healthy privacy boundaries. Your private life should remain private. Delilah, a 71-year-old former schoolteacher from Georgia, used to share everything about her life with her neighbors, her health problems, her children's struggles, her financial worries. She noticed that these neighbors began treating her differently, gossiping about her situation, and offering constant, unsolicited advice that made her feel judged and incompetent. When she stopped sharing personal details and kept conversations polite but surface level, she immediately noticed less drama in her life and more respect from those around her. Here's what you need to do, starting immediately. When someone asks intrusive questions about your finances, respond simply with, "I prefer to keep that private," or "We're doing fine, thank you." When they ask detailed questions about your health, say, "I'm managing well, but I'd rather not discuss details." When they probe into family issues, respond with, "Everything's working out, thanks for your concern." You don't owe anyone explanations or details about your personal life. Sharing vulnerabilities doesn't create genuine intimacy. It often creates opportunities for judgment and gossip. Keep your money matters, health details, and family issues within your closest circle of truly trustworthy people. Guard your privacy starting today, because what people don't know, they can't use against you or spread around your community. Peace Principle 3. Stop trying to fix other people's problems. Your energy is limited and precious at this stage of life, and spending it on other adults' problems drains you without actually helping them grow or solve their own issues. Many seniors, especially those who spent decades in caretaking roles as parents or professionals, fall into the trap of believing they must solve every problem their adult children, friends, or relatives bring to them. This pattern creates a destructive cycle where other adults become dependent on your emotional labor and problem-solving while you become exhausted, resentful, and depleted. When an adult consistently brings their problems to you expecting solutions, they're not seeking wisdom, they're avoiding responsibility for their own life. Your well-intentioned help often enables their dependency rather than empowering their growth. Johns Hopkins has published research on caregiver stress and mental health burden in seniors, and data from the National Institute on Aging shows clear connections between chronic problem-solving for others and negative health outcomes. When you take on the emotional weight of other adults' problems, their marriages, their finances, their career struggles, their parenting challenges, you activate the same stress response in your body, as if these problems were your own. Your cortisol levels rise, your sleep suffers, and your own well-being deteriorates. The irony is that your attempts to fix their problems rarely work, because adults must take ownership of their own lives to create lasting change. Studies show that chronic problem-solving for others increases depression rates by 45% and physical exhaustion by 60% in seniors. You're sacrificing your health for outcomes you cannot control. Vernon, a 79-year-old retired accountant from Nevada, spent years trying to solve his adult son's recurring financial problems, giving advice, offering money, and losing sleep, worrying about decisions his son made. The problems never improved, and Vernon's own health declined from the constant stress. When Vernon's therapist helped him see that his involvement was enabling rather than helping, Vernon stepped back and told his son, "I trust you to figure this out." His son eventually did solve his own problems, and Vernon's anxiety decreased dramatically within weeks. The solution requires you to set clear emotional boundaries with the adults in your life. When someone brings you their problems, you can listen briefly and express sympathy without taking on their burden. Practice saying, "That sounds challenging," and "I trust you'll figure out the best solution," or "I understand this is difficult, but I'm confident you can handle it." Resist the urge to give detailed advice, offer to fix things, or take their problems home with you mentally. Their problems are not your responsibility to solve. You can love people without managing their lives. You can support people without sacrificing your own peace. Redirect that energy toward your own well-being, goals, and peace of mind. Protect your energy today, because you're not responsible for fixing other adults' lives, and trying to do so only harms your own health. Peace Principle 4. Reduce exposure to news and social media. Constant news and social media consumption floods your brain with stress hormones and problems you cannot solve, creating anxiety that serves no productive purpose. The 24-hour news cycle and social media platforms are specifically designed to capture and hold your attention through fear, anger, outrage, and anxiety. These platforms profit from your engagement, so they continuously feed you content that triggers strong negative emotions. Every story about crime, political conflict, disasters, and controversy activates your stress response. Every scroll through social media exposes you to arguments, complaints, and curated highlight reels that make you feel inadequate or upset. Your brain interprets each of these stimuli as a threat requiring your attention and response, even though you have no power to change any of these situations. Stanford University has conducted research on media consumption and anxiety in older adults, and the American Heart Association has documented how media-triggered stress affects cardiovascular health. When you watch hours of news coverage or scroll endlessly through social media, you're mainlining stress hormones into your system. Your blood pressure rises with each upsetting story. Your sleep suffers because your mind replays disturbing information. Your mood darkens because you're focused on problems rather than gratitude. Studies show that seniors who consume more than 30 minutes of daily news have 62% higher anxiety rates and significantly worse sleep quality compared to those who limit media consumption. You're choosing to fill your mind with negativity about situations you cannot control, and it's stealing your peace. Maxine, a 74-year-old from Wisconsin, watched cable news for hours every evening and scrolled through Facebook constantly throughout the day. She felt angry, anxious, and helpless about world events, and her sleep was terrible. When she deleted Facebook from her phone and stopped watching evening news entirely, her sleep improved within days, and her chronic anxiety vanished within 2 weeks. Here's what you need to do today. Delete social media apps from your phone. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever platforms you use. If you feel you must stay informed, limit news consumption to 10 to 15 minutes once daily, preferably in the morning so it doesn't disrupt your sleep. Choose one reputable news source, get a brief overview of major events, and then turn it off. Fill the time you've reclaimed with activities that genuinely improve your life. Reading books, pursuing hobbies, spending time in nature, connecting face-to-face with friends, or simply sitting in peaceful silence. You don't need to know every detail of every tragedy happening around the world. You don't need to engage with strangers' opinions online. You need peace, and peace comes from protecting your mind from constant negativity. Reclaim your mental peace today by unplugging from the noise that steals your joy and replaces it with anxiety about things you cannot change. Peace. Principle 5. Set clear boundaries with family members. Family relationships without boundaries create the most damaging and persistent stress in seniors' lives, and addressing this is essential for your well-being. Many seniors struggle with guilt when it comes to family boundaries because they've been taught that family comes first and that saying no to family is selfish. This belief system traps you in patterns where adult children, grandchildren, or other relatives make unlimited demands on your time, energy, and resources without reciprocity or appreciation. Whether it's expectations for constant babysitting, requests for financial help you can't afford, demands that you host every holiday, or adult children who dump their emotional problems on you daily, these boundary violations create exhaustion, resentment, and health problems that accelerate your aging. Harvard Medical School has published research on family stress and health outcomes in seniors, and the American Psychological Association provides clear guidelines on healthy boundaries. When you consistently say yes to requests that drain you, sacrifice your own needs for adult family members who should be self-sufficient, or allow your home and schedule to be controlled by others' expectations, your physical and mental health deteriorate. Chronic stress from boundary violations raises cortisol levels, elevates blood pressure, disrupts sleep, and triggers depression. Studies show that seniors without clear family boundaries experience 70% higher rates of depression and burnout compared to those who enforce reasonable limits. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary self-preservation that actually improves your relationships by preventing resentment from building. Zelda, an 83-year-old from California, provided daily babysitting for her 3 grandchildren for years, leaving no time for her own health appointments, hobbies, or rest. She felt exhausted and resentful, but afraid to disappoint her daughters. When her doctor explained that her declining health was directly related to chronic stress and exhaustion, Zelda finally told her daughters she could babysit 1 day per week, but needed the other days for herself. After an initial adjustment period, her daughters respected the boundary, and Zelda finally had time for her own well-being. You must communicate clear boundaries with family members starting now. Decide what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do, then state it clearly and kindly without over-explaining or apologizing. Say, "I'm happy to babysit once a week, but I need the other days for my own health and activities," or "I can't help financially right now, but I'm happy to spend time together," or "I love you, but I can't be your daily therapist." You might benefit from professional counseling. When family members push back or try to guilt you, hold firm. Repeat your boundary calmly without arguing or justifying. You've spent decades caring for others, and now you deserve to care for yourself. Set boundaries today, because loving your family doesn't mean sacrificing your peace, health, or well-being for their convenience. Peace Principle 6. Focus daily on your own goals and well-being. The happiest seniors spend their energy on personal growth and joy rather than managing other people's lives, and this shift in focus creates profound fulfillment. After spending decades focused on building careers, raising children, and meeting others' needs, many seniors reach their later years without any clear sense of personal purpose or direction. Days become about responding to others' demands rather than pursuing personal interests. This lack of personal focus creates a sense of emptiness and depression that no amount of caretaking for others can fill. You need goals and activities that bring you joy, stimulate your mind, and give your life meaning beyond your relationships with others. Personal fulfillment comes from investing in yourself, not from fixing everyone around you. The National Institute on Aging has conducted extensive research on purpose, personal goals, and longevity in seniors, and the findings are remarkable. Seniors who maintain personal goals and dedicate regular time to self-focused activities experience significantly better mental health, physical health, and longevity compared to those who lack personal direction. When you engage daily in activities purely for your own well-being or joy, reading, walking, gardening, learning new skills, pursuing creative hobbies, deepening meaningful friendships, you create sustainable happiness that doesn't depend on others' behavior or approval. Studies show that seniors without personal goals and self-focused activities have 3 times higher depression rates and significantly shorter lifespans. Your happiness cannot come from controlling or fixing others. It must come from within through purposeful daily choices. Julius, a 77-year-old retired electrician from Michigan, spent years focused on solving his adult children's problems and had no hobbies or interests of his own. He felt empty and depressed despite being surrounded by family. When he started dedicating his mornings to woodworking, something he'd always wanted to pursue, his entire outlook changed. He reported feeling happier, more fulfilled, and more at peace than he had in 20 years, and his relationships with his children improved because he stopped trying to manage their lives. Each morning starting tomorrow, identify one thing you'll do that day purely for your own well-being or joy, and protect that time like a sacred appointment. It could be 30 minutes of reading a book you've wanted to read, a walk in a place that brings you peace, time working on a hobby or creative project, a phone call with a friend who energizes you, or learning something new that interests you. Write this personal goal down each morning and commit to it before you respond to anyone else's requests or needs. When family members or others try to claim this time, say, "I have a commitment during that time," without specifying what it is. You don't need permission to prioritize yourself. You've earned the right to focus on your own happiness and growth. Start tomorrow morning by choosing one activity purely for yourself, because your happiness and fulfillment depend on making yourself a priority rather than always putting everyone else first. These 6 principles, choosing your battles, guarding your privacy, protecting your energy, unplugging from media stress, setting family boundaries, and focusing on your own well-being, aren't selfish. They're essential for peace and health after 60. Thousands of seniors have transformed their final decades from stressful and exhausting to peaceful and joyful by making these simple mindset shifts. You've earned the right to focus on yourself and choose silence over unnecessary drama. If someone you know is struggling with stress and burnout from overgiving and oversharing, share this video with them right now. You could help them reclaim their peace. Leave a comment telling me which principle resonates most with you. And if this message spoke to your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more wisdom about living your best life after 60. Your peace is worth protecting, and it starts with the choices you make today.